Hello, hello. This is Irene. This is Irene with SaugaTalks today. And typically we host our Coruzant and SaugaTalks Tech Talks on Friday afternoon. Today, my co-host Brian E. Thomas could not be here with us, but he will be joining me back next week. So, Brian, if you're watching us, yes, we miss you around here. Yet, show must go on. So today we're extremely privileged to have here with us Hakim. How are you?
Good, good. Thank you, Irene. Thanks for having me on the show. And I'm disappointed Brian didn't make it as well.
We're gonna hold it against him for sure. For a very long time, Brian, so that you know that. Yeah, no, this is just fine. So we talk about, technical topics for business people and business topics for technical people, kind of, closing that breach between two audiences, because what I hear from many experts I speak with at SaugaTalks, many roles are gonna converge. Going forward, future of work is really changing in front of our eyes. So today, we do want to talk about cybersecurity. And Kim, you're CEO and founder of FutureCon, cybersecurity events. So how are you this Friday, Kim?
I am good. I am good. It's just another busy day. Doesn't really matter what Fridays look like anymore. They're still pretty busy. The good old days of playing golf at noon seem to have gone away because this world of cybersecurity keeps us all pretty busy.
And busy is good for some of us, right? Who
Right,
prefer
right.
to do something. So absolutely, I appreciate your time here with us. So we said we're going to talk about some of the cyber security trends in 2021 and beyond. So Kim, would you like to start maybe with 2020? Because we've seen some interesting changes over there, and what's happening now, you think?
Well, everyone, it's no secret that, the threats of everyone going home, opened up a wide array of attacks and different vulnerabilities for all the people that are at home and all the bad actors. They didn't, they just went home as well, and they continued to, the threats have gotten more increasing. Everyone can see that every day on the news. There's something new. So 2020, I think, just set us up for pretty hard 2021, as we can all see with the stuff happening in 2021. I mean, we're talking about now you have to worry more about IoT, data breaches, zero trust, ransomware attacks, as we know, is on, now there's, we were going to touch a little bit on AI and how that's impacting, the future of cybersecurity. So I don't even know where you want to start because there's a lot that's going on in our world globally today.
Yep, on my mind is future work. Okay, let's start with how we all started working remotely. Although I worked remotely for the last almost 20 years, okay, IBM let us, and they were pioneers in that space. But I know many companies struggled, many people struggled. So from cybersecurity point of view, where do you see we're going with remote working?
That's really interesting because we have that talk on our shows. We get some of the top security speakers that come. We do cybersecurity events. We have one almost every week. I also host VoiceAmerica and Security for All on the Business Network. So I'm privileged to have all these expert speakers that I learn from. And, it seems to be there's a lot of people that are going to go back to work, but it's almost, I'm not quite sure what the statistics are, but to me, it seems like a 50-50 type of situation. You still have people that absolutely are going to stay home at least until 2022. But then you see this week in Dallas, there was a huge cybersecurity event. They had hundreds of people there, no masks. People were allowed to travel. So it's really on the fence. I feel like it's a 50-50, situation right now. I know where I live, and I'm in St. Louis, since the CDC has said you don't have to wear masks, it is really nice. You can walk in places that are not national organizations without a mask. You can walk in the grocery store. You can walk into a hair appointment. So it's interesting to see what's going to happen with the people that are at home.
So for those security officers, right, working for the companies and watching after, right, what would you say, how their life changed, how the organization rethinking their security right now?
Those poor security officers, and I deal with so many of the chief security officers. They're awesome out there. I feel for them because, their roles have quadrupled since everybody went from home because they have bigger problems now. They're still trying to keep the environment secure. But again, now they're going to have to look at new softwares that are going to, provide some sort of zero trust or extended detection and response to trust for all those remote users and make sure their data is protected. And they have a challenge. I mean, I don't know how they sleep because they have a lot on their plate, just hoping and, making sure that, that they're not the next victim.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And you know what? The respectful companies, Gardner Forrester talking to us, we are in different age right now. So you mentioned data. So what are the experts you're speaking with? Where do they stand? Because I know, company are looking after their interest, and yet here and there we hear all the security breaches. That's what happens. So how should we feel more comfortable or less so, do you think, in 2021?
Well, I mean, I think that the security officers are just really trying to identify where their weaknesses are in their environment. And that's the first place is, just trying to figure out where the loopholes are. And, I'm not a security officer. I definitely don't have the credentials to be able to quote what they're going to be doing. But I mean, I was reading an article today and the CEO of CrowdStrike was just saying that this SolarWinds hack, it was first documented back, in 2017. So things were happening a long time ago and we still don't even know the outcome. There's still issues with SolarWinds, not to mention, the newest ransomware attack that we had, with Colonial Pipeline and just the vulnerabilities that have opened up for all the infrastructure, our whole country and the infrastructure and these CTOs, CIOs, CISOs that are running, the government, our water systems, our power systems. I mean, they now have bigger threats just trying to find out where the vulnerabilities of their corporation is. Absolutely. So I guess I didn't really answer your question. I kind of danced around that.
It's all good. It's all good, Kim. So you did mention what ransom attacks and, of course, supply chains. We know how vulnerable they are. We learned from COVID, right, from 2020, that a simple issue and one step along the way, right, affects supply chain down the road, affects suppliers, vendors, customers. So where do you see, the supply chain innovation coming that we feel all better, secure, and just, better?
That's a really good question because that's just it goes back to, all these third-party applications and devices and the supply chain attacks, it's such I don't even know how to answer that because it goes so deep, it goes so many layers of, we all know there's huge supply chain issues right now. And how do you ensure, just like SolarWinds, that your vendor is being protected and that they're keeping their space secure in order for your space not to get, interrupted by their hacks. So I think that's the $1 million question right now. And I don't think I have an answer for, where are we going with supply chain attacks? I definitely think I do have Neil Dasani. He's on my VoiceAmerica show this afternoon, and he came from Symantec, LifeLock. He works for staff. He works for I just went completely, but the college like Stanford. Okay, I went blank on that. So, and he wrote a book about the future of cyber attacks, and it'll be really interesting to get some of his thought process on that because he is the expert. He is one of those experts that has gone through all this stuff and can give us all some advice of where do we go from here.
Fantastic, fantastic. So please join Kim on her show starting in an hour, you say, Kim?
Yeah, we start at 12 p.m. Pacific time, right here on LinkedIn Live, I'm sure. And just like your show, people can catch and all that on demand. And you can go to Voice America on the Business Network and find all of our past shows. So one of the things that we've talked a lot about on the past shows is just the human element of cybersecurity as well. And I think that from what I'm hearing from some experts, companies are going to have to start putting some protection, some software in place that they can, protect these phishing schemes that are coming into their employees. I think that there's, another layer of security that they can protect them, even if they do hit on that phishing, scheme, that the company is still protected. I think that's a new trend that we're seeing. I think that people just, don't have a choice but to try to figure out when it comes to zero trust, what they're going to do with their corporation.
Exactly. And I speak a lot with digital transformation experts on my show, SaugaTalks, and security and cybersecurity is definitely on the top list for digital officers, for CIOs, and of course, CEOs. So that said, Kim, any trends you can point out in terms of how business and technology work together? Because in every organization, we know how many silos people separated into, and sometimes, the best intentions, they don't get realized for a number of reasons. So any insights in those situations?
Well, I think that, we've seen all of a sudden, we've always seen the chief information security officer. Now we're seeing a business chief information, like the BISO. And I think many companies are having to employ a business information security officer so they can start educating the rest of the corporation of, it's not just, our motto at FutureCon is IT is no longer, IT is no longer, security is no longer an IT problem. So it is everybody's responsibility in that organization, but so many people don't take it serious. And when are they going to start taking it serious? When their company is hacked, when they lose their job because, the company can't afford to pay a ransomware, so they have to go out of business. And I think we're seeing more of, it's not the larger companies, like Colonial Pipeline has been around for a long time. So they had the funding to pay that ransom. But a mid-sized company, they're not going to have that kind of they're not going to have that kind of funding. They're just going to go out of business. And they're probably the most vulnerable target is the mid-sized company. So what's your thoughts on that, as far as the business side of just having the business side and the IT sector working together?
Yeah, the line is actually blurring. So this show is not about me, but line is blurring. And what I hear that leaders would need more experts on business sides who are technically savvy and more technologists who really have business side in mind. And traditionally, it was pretty separate, even career paths. Okay, and we treated people completely different if they inspired to be on business side or technology. So cybersecurity here is not any different from any other business function. It could be critical, it could be mission critical, but point is, what I hear is that, of course, in the next 10 years, future work will determine, a lot of different roles will be converging, and will be a lot of officers and new leaders titles we don't even realize they're going to exist.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there is not enough the actual security, teams. When you look at the overall, like if you have 5,000 people in a company, your security team is not that big. So you've got a small little fraction of people trying to keep all those people safe. And one of the things when we went back to zero trust, I believe, and I'm not the proficient expert on this, that every company should have a zero trust vendor that can provide them with, like new layers of software that can protect their infrastructure components. So clients don't have to remove and replace security investments they've already made. So just putting an extra layer of zero trust, some sort of software on what you already have. And there's a million zero trust vendors out there. You can go to any of our shows. Our shows are really great, and we've done really well during COVID because we do a show almost every week, and we normally have about 20 vendors that are the vendors that are going to be, different sectors of cybersecurity, that they have the tools and the solutions and the resources. And then we bring, we bring about 10 speakers on trying to do training. The security folks out there, they actually get, they acquire some of their certifications by coming to our training that we have, once a week. But we are now seeing outside of that, some of the different sectors of the company coming to our events, because now it's not boring IT anymore. This is like real stuff, what's really happening in the world. And it's interesting information that's, before it was X's and O's and, so definitely the trends of, IT just it's not just for that IT department. It's the IT employees. It's their job to get out there and go sit with other people in the company and try to explain what's going on, with zero trust and with, keeping your data safe, and why it's important not to open an email that looks funny or entertaining because you just want to be entertained for the day. Because now it's not just the company it's not the company that's just going to get attacked. You're going to get attacked too, because I guarantee tons of people out there have a lot of their personal information on their computer where, they're going to get their bank stuff stolen. So there's a lot of people out there that still have not learned that don't open links.
Absolutely. So, Kim, you mentioned additional resources. I'm happy to link the link to your show to this video, because frankly, we do want to spread the knowledge. That's what these talks are all about, to get more information, not less, from if people interested, so thank you for sharing those. I do want to ask about FutureCon security conferences that you're running. So what kind of audiences is there? What kind of, again, topics you're covering?
So, oh my gosh, anything, any of these topics that we just talked about, we're talking about, AI, ransomware, zero trust, data breaches, how to protect your companies from this. Our keynote speaker companies, we've had Eli Lilly, I'm going to go blank here, and because I have so many, we have, I'm like completely going blank because there's just any enterprise company that's out there. I don't know why. Some of the larger banks, we've had Bank of America, we've had Cox Healthcare. We've had, you can go to futureconevents.com and see all of our keynote speakers that are out there. We have in Texas, we are getting ready to go do our first live show. We've been in a hybrid virtual mode for the last year. So we're getting ready to go to Dallas in August. And at that show, we have George Finney. He is the CISO from SMU University, and he wrote a book of just 9 habits to follow to keep yourself secure. And he's a highly sought after speaker around the country. Next week, we have a show where we have the Chief Security Officer from Centene Corporation. He'll be our keynote speaker. And then after that, we always have a CISO panel that they're kind of bringing their collected thoughts of where have we been? What are we doing now? Where are we going? What are we seeing? What keeps us up at night? What can you do to help the CISOs make their job a better environment for everyone else? Because I'm sure, the stress level for the security teams are through the roof. And we talk a lot about that too, is the mental health and just those security teams trying to take care of themselves, because these threats that they're dealing with, I can only imagine it's one after another. So where do you even start to wrap your hand around some of these breaches that they're trying to defend, and how to know, if someone's emailing you as a bad actor or it's the real thing?
Absolutely. And don't you think technology is there to help? Because I read a lot about AI being helpful in, again, assist those security officers and security professionals, right? And there are lots of talks going on, I'm sure, on your show as well, about how to employ those algorithms, not against the companies, but for the companies, to keep them and their employees secure.
Yeah, and that, we recently started this happy hour. It was this virtual happy hour we do with a private invite for the CISOs, and it's really fun. We spend about an hour. They're doing a blind bourbon tasting, but we talk about, how are they training on phishing attacks? Are they doing it from if you click on this, you're going to, like, from a punitive side, or are they trying to do it more on a reward side? Like, let's put some tests out there, and if you pass it, you're going to actually get a reward. You're going to get like some sort of gift card or bonus. And it seems like most of the CISOs are trying to come from a place of rewarding, like trying to get their teams and trying to get the business side more excited to try to help him do his job, instead of coming from, you opened something, you could have caused us a breach, we're going to write you up. Because you do see a lot of companies that are doing that are putting keystrokes on the remote employees' computers so they can watch what they're doing. And that just doesn't seem like a very good environment or a good culture to work for.
Absolutely.
If you're going to be.
You mentioned culture, this is all about culture, right? Security and controls are important, but guess what? As human, we act more in positive reinforcement environment. Okay, we want to be counted on. That means that, it's got to be culture that enforces us, or really rather, encourages us to be a little more.
Yeah. And I think that the security teams and the leaders on those teams really have to think about that, because with the job market the way it is, there's not enough security. There are not enough employable security people to fill all these spots across the United States. So when you take the time to train these employees and get them where you want, you need to keep them there. And the employee, it seems to me like the employee has a lot more power nowadays because they have a lot of choices out there. So the culture is super important. And yeah, but I'm hearing more of the larger companies that are really identifying that and understanding that the culture is really important, and they're trying to work with their teams and trying to build their teams so they can move them up. And one thing that COVID has done, is I've talked to many CISOs about this, is that they're not locked into just hiring, like the CISO from Eli Lilly. She's like, I don't have to just hire talent from Indiana anymore. Now, because of COVID, I can find the best of the best, out there because of remote work. So, there's definitely some pros and definitely cons of remote work. And I think, we're a year into this. I think most people have it figured out. I don't know that. I don't know what the statistics of the threats are from happening at home. It seems like they should be better after a year, but I couldn't comment on where we stand. It just doesn't seem to be the hot topic that we're hearing about, in May of 2021.
Absolutely. You mentioned talent. That was my next question. How intuitive is that? Because, by the way, security professionals, they're on top of what highest paying professionals that really in demand. So, like it or not, right? But this market is growing. And I'm thinking about younger generation entering marketplace right now. Do you hear what are the best ways kind of getting into the field, getting the knowledge? It doesn't have to be college degree in security. It doesn't have to be college degree at all nowadays. There are boot camps. There are different yes ways to get there. What do you think?
Definitely, definitely. I have a nephew that, college wasn't right for him, and he ended up going to one of those boot camps, and he's a coder. And he went from, I think he's making like $120,000 now coding. And he went through a 6-month boot camp. And so for those, I think it's a great opportunity for those younger kids, those younger people that college is not for them. This is a fast track to being able to really, accelerate your career. If this is, I think people just are still, there's still that stigma, especially for females, that, oh, IT is super boring. I wouldn't want to do that, but this generation of teenagers, they're on social media all the time. They're getting around everything. They have no idea that coding might be just for them. So, it's been interesting. It's since the last 3 years, we've seen some progression, like with the Girl Scouts, they now have a badge that you can get your cybersecurity badge, so there are steps that are happening. There's a lot of institutions out there. I know that Deanne DeFora, she's now the CISO of United Airlines. She used to be the CISO of GE Aviation. She was a keynote speaker. She is just an amazing woman. I mean, she spends the summer working with younger, like 15, 14-year-olds doing cybersecurity programs every summer. So there's so many women out there that are trying to really be advocates for pushing, younger girls into looking at cybersecurity.
Absolutely. And I am in the technology industry since mid-90s, okay? So I started as a programmer and moved to project management and lots of other roles, including marketing for global organizations. So there's so much work to do in technology and in security in particular, that frankly, when people cutting off that opportunity for them early in life, that's just not right. So, and I would add to that, when you mentioned so many people say it's boring, I thought, back there that, what, it's so important that here you have this mission, you feel important when you really, from your showing up at work, depends like very important application for big client, and you can really post your name out there to say, hey, because of me, this thing launched yesterday and this thing is a fly. It's almost like sending rocket ship to the space,
Exactly. I know.
And for those ambitious young ladies out there, hey, take your energy, take your, stubbornness right there and make it work. It doesn't, you don't need to be a coder, but coding is fun. Coding is great when you're building something with your own hand and you put it in production and it holds the part of the business because you did that. That's not small contribution.
I absolutely agree. And just like you, I started 20 something years ago doing this, and the ratio of seeing women in cyber to today is, it used to be maybe 5%, 1 to 5%. Now at least we're seeing maybe 20 to 25%. It's still not where it should be, but it's getting there.
Absolutely. And again, this is very rewarding occupation as well, as you mentioned before, Kim. So I would say, girls, boys, if you're out there rethinking your future, okay, look at the resources. We're going to link some of them that Kim will provide right under this video.
Yes.
But there is, thanks to digital transformation and all the technology, colleges opening up to take part-time classes. Boot camps, I really want you to enroll and to get, to be part of it. And frankly, if anything you want to do in digital economy going forward, this is the time to pick
This
up
is
those
the
skills.
time. Definitely 100%. I agree. So, it's nice to see women in my audiences again. It's nice to see women in CISO roles. I mean, there's so many of them. I almost all of them. There's a book, and you can kind of see it behind me. It's the 100 Women and Making a Difference in Cybersecurity. So a lot of those women, it's pretty awesome in that book. The women that are in there. So.
Absolutely, Kim. Thank you so very much for this Friday talk with us here. This is SaugaTalks and Coruzant broadcasting live. Kim, couple of takeaways. Okay, I love leaving audiences with something to think about. So anything you want us to kind of, to think about in 2021?
Just think about what you're doing when someone's emailing you. Think twice before you open any attachments. Think about your own safety, because it only takes a minute for somebody to steal your identity or empty your bank account. So just be more cognitive of what you're opening up and what you're using, even on your phone, anything that you have. Take cybersecurity serious, because it is no longer an IT problem.
This is the most important takeaway. Thank you, Kim, so much for your time this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you.